Before we begin, a few important words. This recording is intended for relaxation, personal development, and general well-being. It is not therapy, it is not medical treatment, and it is not a substitute for professional care from a licensed healthcare provider. No specific results are promised or guaranteed. Every person's experience is unique, and what you take from this session is entirely your own. If you are dealing with a medical condition, a mental health concern, or are currently receiving treatment of any kind, please continue to work with your healthcare provider. This recording is meant to complement your well-being, never to replace professional guidance. Hypnosis recordings, while effective for many people, are not a replacement for working one-on-one with a trained and highly skilled clinical hypnotherapist. If you are dealing with a specific issue and would like personalized help, I invite you to visit phobiafree.life and schedule a free consultation with a certified clinical hypnotherapist. Before we begin, this recording contains hypnosis. Please do not listen to this while driving, operating machinery, or doing anything that requires your full attention. Find a quiet, comfortable place where you can simply relax, undisturbed, for the duration of this session. If at any time you need to be fully alert, you can simply open your eyes, take a deep breath, and return to full waking awareness immediately. Find yourself in a comfortable position now. And you don't need to do anything in particular, just allow your body to settle the way it naturally wants to when given permission to simply be still. You might notice the weight of your body against whatever is supporting you right now. And isn't it interesting how you never really noticed that support before, and yet it was always there? Your eyes can remain open, or they may find their own way to close, and some people find their eyes closing almost before they expect them to, and that's perfectly fine, because your unconscious mind always knows exactly what it needs. With each breath you take, you don't even have to try to relax, because relaxation isn't something you do, it's something you allow, and your body already knows how. Perhaps you notice a gentle heaviness beginning in your shoulders, or maybe it starts somewhere else entirely. It doesn't matter where it begins, only that it spreads slowly, naturally, the way warmth spreads through your hands on a cold day, without any effort at all. And as that comfortable feeling continues to deepen, your mind may begin to drift a little, the way it does in those moments just before sleep, when thoughts become softer, less urgent, more like clouds passing than anything requiring your attention. You don't need to follow every word I say. In fact, your unconscious mind is already doing exactly what it needs to do, and your conscious mind is welcome to rest. With every breath out, just a little more comfortable, a little more settled, a little more yours. And when you're ready, we can go somewhere quite wonderful together. It is a curious thing, the way the mind works. You can be sitting in a room, perfectly comfortable, perfectly safe, and yet part of your mind is always somewhere else, thinking about tomorrow, replaying yesterday, wondering about something that may or may not happen. The mind is a great traveler. It rarely stays in one place for long. And yet there are moments, you have had them, everyone has, when the mind simply stops. When you are so absorbed in something that time disappears. When you are reading a book that pulls you in so completely that the room around you ceases to exist. Or watching a fire, or listening to rain, or sitting by water, and something in you just lets go, becomes still, becomes present, becomes for a moment completely at peace. And I wonder if you can allow yourself to begin relaxing now in just that way. Not by trying to relax, not by forcing anything, but simply by noticing that you are already in this moment safe, supported, comfortable, and that there is nothing in this moment that requires your effort or your vigilance. Your eyes can close whenever they are ready. There is no hurry. And when they do close, you may notice that the darkness behind them is surprisingly comfortable, surprisingly restful, like a room you have always known. I once knew a man who had spent many years believing that money was something that happened to other people, not to him. He had grown up in a household where money was always tight, always discussed in hushed and worried tones, always treated as something fragile and scarce. And so, quite naturally, without ever deciding to, he had learned to feel anxious about money. It had become automatic. The way breathing is automatic, the way blinking is automatic. And one day this man took a long journey by train, a very long journey, the kind where you watch the landscape change outside the window for hours. First the city, then the suburbs, then open countryside, then hills, then something wilder and more ancient. And he found, somewhere in the middle of that journey, that his mind had gone very quiet, that the usual noise, the worry, the calculation, the low-level hum of financial anxiety had simply stopped. And in that quiet, something interesting happened. He began to notice things he had never noticed before. He noticed how the light fell differently on the hills than it did on the plains. He noticed how a single farmhouse in a wide landscape looked not lonely but perfectly placed. He noticed that the world was, in fact, extraordinarily generous, that it was full, that it was, in every direction he looked, abundant beyond measure. And he thought, when did I decide that I was the exception? When did I decide that this generosity, this extraordinary, overflowing generosity of the world, did not include me? And you know, as you continue to relax more deeply, you might find yourself wondering the same thing. Not with effort, not with analysis, just a quiet, curious wondering, when did you decide that abundance was for other people? And is that decision still serving you? Or is it simply a habit? An old program running in the background that nobody has ever thought to update? Because the interesting thing about habits is that they can change, not always through willpower, not always through effort. Sometimes they change the way the light changes on a hillside, gradually, almost imperceptibly, and then all at once, everything looks different. And I wonder if you can drift even deeper now as I tell you about a place I would like you to visit, a library. Not an ordinary library. This is a very particular kind of library. It is the library of your own mind. Imagine yourself walking through the doors of this library. It is warm inside. The light is golden and soft. The shelves stretch in every direction, filled with books. And you understand as you walk between the shelves that every book in this library is a belief. Every book is a story your mind has been telling you. Some of them are stories you chose consciously, but most of them, the oldest ones, the most worn ones, the ones on the lowest shelves, were placed there by other people, by parents, by teachers, by a culture that had its own complicated relationship with money. Walk along the shelves now. And notice if there are any books whose titles you recognize. Books with titles like Money is Hard to Come By, or I Am Not Good with Money, or Wealthy People Are Different from Me, or Wanting More is Greedy. You do not need to open these books. You do not need to read them again. You have already read them many times. You know every word, and I wonder what would happen if you were to simply remove one of those books from the shelf. Not with anger, not with drama, just with the quiet authority of someone who has decided that this particular story is no longer required. Take it down, feel its weight, and place it on a table nearby where it can simply rest, where it no longer needs to be consulted. And now notice that where that book was, there is a space on the shelf, a gap, a space that is ready to receive something new. And you notice that on a nearby table, you are not sure how it got there. There is a new book, a book with a different title. You lean in to read it. And the title says, Abundance is My Natural State. Pick it up. Feel how different it feels in your hands. Lighter, perhaps, or warmer, or simply more right. And place it on the shelf in the space where the old book used to be. And notice how it looks there, how naturally it belongs, how it seems in some way to have always been there, waiting for you to find it. And as you stand in this library, in this deep and receptive state, you might begin to notice something, a quiet shift, a sense that something has changed, not dramatically, not with fanfare, but genuinely, permanently. Because the truth is, and your deeper mind already knows this, even if your conscious mind has sometimes forgotten, the truth is that money flows naturally to those who believe they deserve it, not because the universe plays favorites, but because belief shapes perception, and perception shapes action, and action shapes results. When you believe in your own worth, you ask for what you deserve. You charge what your work is worth. You say yes to opportunities that previously felt too large for you. You notice possibilities that your old programming would have filtered out. You move through the world as someone who expects good things, and expectation, it turns out, is a remarkable magnet. And so in this deep and quiet place, your mind is doing something very useful. It is reorganizing. It is filing the old stories away, not destroying them, simply archiving them, the way you might archive old documents that are no longer relevant to your current work. And it is bringing forward new patterns, new defaults, new automatic responses to the idea of money, of wealth, of receiving, of asking, of deserving. From this day forward, you may find yourself surprised by small things, by the ease with which a new idea arrives, by the comfort you feel when discussing your rates or your worth, by the way you begin to notice and act on opportunities that were always there, but that you were not yet ready to see. These are not coincidences. These are the natural results of a mind that has been recalibrated, a mind that now knows, at the deepest level, that abundance is available to you, that it has always been available to you, and that you are right now in the process of claiming it. The man on the train, by the way, arrived at his destination, and something had changed in him during that journey. He could not have explained it precisely, but he felt different, lighter, more open, more willing to receive. And in the months that followed, his relationship with money changed, not because of luck, not because of magic, but because his mind had, in a quiet moment of stillness, decided to allow abundance in, and so can yours. In a moment, I am going to invite you to begin returning to full waking awareness, and you can take your time with this. There is no hurry. You can bring with you everything that has shifted in this session, every new pattern, every new belief, every quiet recalibration, carrying it forward into your waking life as naturally as you carry your own name. I will count from 1 to 5. 1. Gently becoming aware of your surroundings. 2. Feeling your body, noticing your breath. 3. A deeper breath now, feeling refreshed and clear. 4. Almost fully awake, a sense of quiet confidence. 5. Eyes open whenever you are ready, fully present, fully awake, and carrying with you the deep, quiet certainty that abundance is not something you need to chase. It is something you are learning moment by moment to simply allow. Welcome back.